Good morning, my name's Tom, and this is the weekly political vid. Sorry about the shaky camera. Uh, in the last week, we'll start out with the most recent news. The Biden administration has succeeded in the largest prisoner exchange deal since the Cold War. This will be one of his presidential legacies. This is a huge win. Evan Gershkovich and Paul Whelan have been released. This is a multi nation prisoner swap where basically the West and Russia organized deals, and basically a bunch of Russian intelligence assets will be free to live in Russia and nowhere else. And Russia agrees to release the people they have snatched up, some of which may actually be spies, and some of which are, well, journalists or athletes or whatever. Let's see, this has upset Donald Trump, who has insisted that he could get our people released with absolutely no concessions. It's worth noting that if that were true, he probably would have done it when he was president. When former U.S. Marine and probable CIA asset Paul Whelan was first snatched up. That happened in 2018 when Trump was president. And he kind of ignored it because I think it made him look bad if he called attention to it. Let's see. Kamala Harris. She has been raising a lot of money. And she made things weird. Okay, so basically lots of support's coming in, and rather than hammering away at a lot of the things people know is wrong with Trump, rather than explaining in detail the moral or immoral parts to his administration and his policies moving forward, decided to go with it's pretty weird message. There's ups and downs to that strategy, but what it's done now is, well, basically it caught on. And it's sitting in people's minds now so that when they look and they watch and they see what's going on, instead of just dismissing that, like, oh, that's just Trump, or oh, that's just, campaign talk. It doesn't mean anything. It now clicks for people to take a second look at it or a deeper look at it. And the more the opposition tries to push back against it or embrace it or whatever, they're just calling more and more attention to it. So, for example, how this works. People get desensitized sometimes to, for example, cruelty. Like when cruelty is done in a humorous manner. And, you're making fun of people and it's a bit of a burn, but it's lighthearted, and they can push back on you. People laugh back and forth with each other as they just kind of tag each other. But then you got that one person who's always punching down on people. And it's wrong for you to push back. Well, okay, that's weird. Like, you can do that to other people, but it's not okay for them to do that to you. That's kind of weird. Or another example would be the only time I ever see you laughing is when it's at somebody else's expense. That's the only thing you take joy in. That's kind of weird. And it makes people say, hey, maybe there's something wrong with this guy, which is apparent to most of us, but it's now harder to ignore. Let's see, finally, in this week, we're just going to wrap up with Trump's interesting and unique approach to communicating with a coalition of black journalists in America. It started out pretty rough um, because, well, they cut straight to the meat and potatoes of it, which is you said a lot of overtly and blatantly racist things, and they gave a short list. That short list taking probably a minute to run through. And it's like, okay, you've said all these racist things. Why should black people support you in light of that information? That's a tough question. This is not a softball interview, and it was never going to be. So Trump did everything except answer that question. He got a bit racist. He definitely got very misogynistic, attacked the journalists. Basically, he did everything except acknowledge, yeah, I said those racist things. And he wouldn't say, yeah, those racist things are bad, because that would be admitting he'd done something wrong, which he cannot do. I mean, if he did that, well, the bigot vote would still vote for him. I mean, we all know how it works. You know, somebody's like, well, I didn't mean it, or it was a joke. It's like, yeah, okay. But, so the bigot vote would still support him. But acknowledging that he did something wrong is not something he is capable of doing. It's kind of like showing a sign of weakness. And there's a lot of severe overlap between the bigot vote and the drunken, I'm an alpha male dude bro vote. And so he needs to make sure he keeps the drunken alpha male dude bro vote. So that interview really spiraled out of control. It got worse, and it never started getting better. So relatively quickly, his handlers managed to get him off the stage. And, they said, well, this started half an hour late, and we've got another event to get to. Sure, we understand that. You canceled that engagement more than half an hour early. You ended it more than half an hour early. We all know how time works. And the reason is he was severely damaging his ability to get the black vote. In fact, that interview was the sort of thing that could potentially lose you a lot of black votes. And if it continued to go on, it would get worse and worse and worse, because the journalists did their homework. They had his direct quotes. They could back it up. And basically what this was, okay, you've said all these things. Now the people that you now the people that this hurts are in the room with you. Are you going to stand by what you said before in front of the people you were actually hurting? And the answer is he won't stand with it or against it. He won't acknowledge it's real, and he will just make fun of you and call you names and tell you what a nasty person you are. So, yeah, that didn't go over well for him at all. This is a very different race than it was when Biden was still in it. Statistically, by polling, the Democratic side and the Republican side are tied. Then again, the polling has not been accurate since at least 2016. It was not reliable in the 2016 election. It was not reliable in the 2020 election. It was not reliable in the 2022 off-cycle election. So we'll see where things go. Like, share, subscribe. Have a good day.